It was graduation, and I was planning on attending a baccalaureate program at 7 o'clock in the evening. The only problem was I was on the beach at Lake Mead, and it was 55 miles away from where the program was going to be held. My parents decided that I should drive into town by myself and attend the program and then return later in the evening to the lake. So later that afternoon, my dad drove me across the lake back to the landing. I got in the car, drove the 55 miles into town, ran by our house, changed my clothes, and went to the program. Well, I can tell you I'm really glad I went. It was a beautiful program, and I was also happy to be driving back to the lake. I got to the lake, parked my car, and started down the ramp towards the dock, and I thought I heard a boat in the distance, which I figured was my dad. As I approached the dock, I realized it was my dad, and he had his friend Jim along with him in the boat. As I started walking along the dock, I heard a lot of commotion going on off in the distance, and I asked my dad, "What do you think that noise is going on out there?" And he said, "Well, there's some people camped down there a ways, and I think they must be having a party." I didn't think much about it until we got right to the dock and I stepped into the boat, and then we all three heard at the same time someone yelling for help. So it was then we decided we better go investigate. My dad turned the boat around and we headed out into the darkness, trying to follow the sound of the people that were yelling for help. Jim said, "I don't think it's on the beach. It sounds to me like it's coming from the lake." So we followed the noise, and sure enough, there was a boat dead in the water out in the middle of the lake. As my dad approached, he yelled at the man, "Are you guys okay? Are you sinking?" And the man yelled back, No, I was working on my engine. My boat's not running. My kids are under the bow, and they're not moving." At that moment, everything changed. I turned around to see Jim taking his t-shirt off, and he simply dove in the water and swam towards the boat. My dad said, "Kathy, you need to stay here and run the boat, and I'm going to go help Jim." They both got on the boat. Jim crawled underneath the bow of the boat, and he pulled out two children, a little boy and a little girl. They put one on the deck of the boat and one on the floor of the boat and started mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The woman was crying and was frantic because she didn't know what to do. Luckily, both children were revived, and they were ever so grateful. The woman said, thank you so much, but there's one other thing. Our dog Brutus is still under the bow of the boat, and he wasn't moving either." My dad and Jim both looked at each other, and Jim said, "I'll go get him." So Jim crawled back under the bow of the boat and pulled out Brutus, the Chihuahua. My dad and Jim didn't know quite what to do, so my dad held the Chihuahua in his hands, and Jim started giving the Chihuahua mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Well, I'm happy to say he revived the dog as well, and everyone lived happily ever after. After that, Jim was known as the Great Resuscitator, and took quite a bit of kidding about giving a Chihuahua mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I often thought and wondered what would have happened if I hadn't chose to go into the program that evening. We never know what circumstances might appear out of the blue.